The Ole Miss key to an Egg Bowl win over Mississippi State, it seems pretty clear.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. Today, we're talking about what will define the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. The key, it all comes down to how clean Ole Miss plays, seriously. Will this game look like Ole Miss's struggles against Kentucky, LSU, and Florida, or more like the wins Ole Miss saw against Arkansas and Georgia? If the Rebels protect their defense by playing smart, disciplined football, the game is all theirs for the taking. They need to embrace being the favorite rather than always playing like an underdog. Playing with confidence will be the difference maker. Stay tuned for the full breakdown. This is the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast. Let's dive in. We're free and available in all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special thank you to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. Do not forget to find a second listen on the network. Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC or Corey Burton at Locked On Vandy. They offer great perspectives on college football, the SEC, and yes, even Ole Miss. So check them out. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The battle for the golden egg is in just a few days, and we are going to look at some of the keys that Ole Miss needs to have going into the game. First of all, Ole Miss absolutely must play better and clean offensively against Mississippi State. The defense has struggled. Ole Miss absolutely can't afford turnovers, going forward on fourth down, all of the stuff that has gotten them in trouble this year. Ole Miss can't afford to do that. I am a firm believer that Matt Lute was the head coach of this football team. This year, with this team that Lane Kiffin has assembled, they'd be 12-0 because he played completely by the numbers and never went for anything. He just kicked field goals, played defense, and worked on offense. But that digress on that one. So Ole Miss has to play clean and start playing to their defense a little bit in this game if Ole Miss wants to go 9-3 and have a Sunshine Bowl down in Florida. Also, Ole Miss needs to contain the president, Michael Van Buren, who has been a revelation this year at Mississippi State. He's had some very good performances, some head-turning performances by the young true freshman. And don't forget that Jeff Levy had really good game plans against Pete Golding in 2020 and against in 2021. It's one of those situations, those games going to come in there. Jeff Levy had it all kind of figured out. That get your popcorn ready was thrown away by going for it wrongly at the beginning of the game, but I digress. And also the homegrown players for Ole Miss from Mississippi, they have to show out this game where state pride absolutely matters. This game is going to be pretty interesting. And can Ole Miss play clean? Can Lane Kiffin schematically and all of that stuff, can Ole Miss just do the clean-based things that they need to do? Because if Ole Miss doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't get penalized, and doesn't go forward at inopportune times where there's no momentum bump the other direction, there's not a way that Mississippi State can win this game. The only way that Mississippi State can win this game is if Ole Miss helps them. And for those that remember, I said the same thing about last week, and Ole Miss proceeded to help them. Ole Miss has to play a clean football game this week. They have to catch the ball. They have to handle their job at a level that is expected of Ole Miss players at this point in the season. If they do that, they catch the ball, they avoid penalties, don't turn the ball over, and avoid going forward on fourth down at all if they don't have to, Ole Miss is going to win this game probably close to the line that's out there. Because right now, if you look at the betting line and what's going on, Ole Miss is a 26.5-point favorite. The over-under has actually gone down a little bit to 26.5 points. So that looks like what? 45 to 15, 42 to 17, something like that. Somewhere in that ballpark is what BetOnline is predicting for this football game. And Ole Miss has it all in front of them. They can absolutely do it. If you look at Jackson Dart this year, even with the closing of that Florida game that I'm sure that he regrets, he's 235 for 339, 3,732 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's about 500 yards away from the single season passing mark. For those that are curious, he is about 40 yards away from Eli Manning's career passing mark. He's not going to catch passing touchdowns, but there's a good chance with a good game against Mississippi State, Jackson Dart can own every single record that Ole Miss has. And he is also the winningest quarterback of all time. That's the reason it's a shame that Florida game closed out the way it did. That's going to affect him the same way that it affected Eli Manning and his legacy and the Eli Falls thing. Everybody thinks about that 2003 game when they think of Eli Manning. Chad Kelly, everybody thinks about 4th and 25. That's a Sugar Bowl. That was a Cotton Bowl. All of that stuff went on there. Legacy matters with how it ends up. And those last 3 drives are what people are going to remember from Jackson Dart, even though his numbers are going to be absolutely elite for Ole Miss season. And anybody that has watched even one of these shows know exactly how I feel about Jackson Dart. So it's just kind of sad the way it sits right now. Ole Miss looking at this game, if they play clean, they're going to be in good shape with this defensive team. Now, we all have to ask the question, the elephant in the room, so to speak, the opt-outs, preparing for an NFL career. How is the game going to look? There's a chance that a whole bunch of focus isn't on the team this week. They're all thinking about what's going to happen next week and beyond. But if Lane Kiffin can control this team and get them ready to delay that for 5 days, just give him 5 days, they can get ready for their NFL career and everything is going to be good. Now, the bowl game, I have no idea exactly how that's going to look. I assume that it'll be Austin Simmons taking the snaps. I'm assuming Jackson Dart is going to opt out of that bowl game. He might not. Jackson Dart's the type of guy that would play in that, but he might, and just the expectation of what's going on. So we are not sure after 5 days from now what the roster is going to look like 3 weeks after that. Now, the transfer portal is going to open up and recruiting is going to open up and Ole Miss is going to restock their roster like crazy. But I've talked about this pretty consistently over the last 3 years. The one thing that the transfer portal has done has eliminated those smooth moving programs that just doesn't go up and down too far in 1 year. What you see is more volatility from teams. You see more ability to be upset. What Oklahoma did to Alabama on Saturday was absolutely ridiculous. The SEC might have a 3-loss team get into the college football playoff. I do not think it's going to be Ole Miss. I do not think the chance is very good, but the conversation is still happening depending on what happens this weekend. Ole Miss needs to play clean. Play clean. And honestly, if we're just going to be real about it, the only path for Ole Miss to even get into that 3-loss SEC team discussion, if they have that, is by putting 70 on Mississippi State. Can Ole Miss do that? Will they be up to do that? I do not know. The Florida game was a rough thing all around. It just genuinely was, with how poorly that Ole Miss played in their biggest moment, potentially in program history. And that's going to upset people for a long time to come. It's really good, but in this Mississippi State game, this Egg Bowl game, it simply comes down to Ole Miss playing clean. If Ole Miss plays clean, they're going to win the game. It doesn't matter all the other stuff that comes on, people going up, throw out the records in this game. That's not true. Throw out the records in this game is just something that people do to get in the other team's players' heads so that the underdog has a better chance of getting the favorite. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But we'll see exactly how it goes. I do expect Mississippi State to play hard. This is a game that Jeff Levy, the moment he was hired, he was told how important this game is. They are going to play hard. It is going to be important, massive, imperative for Ole Miss to front run in this game. They need to get a stop. They need to go down and score a touchdown. They need to get a stop, go down and score a touchdown, and just spread out the game. It does not need to be a game in the third quarter. Ole Miss has shown on 3 separate occasions how to lose as a favorite if the game was tight in the third quarter. If you were unable to front run, they have managed to throw those games away. So we'll see exactly how it goes, exactly how this Ole Miss football team looks, but that is the main key in this game. Ole Miss just simply needs to play a clean football game. Catch the ball when it's thrown to you. Do not turn over punt returns. No penalties, no turnovers. Do not go for unnecessarily on 4th down. No unnecessary risks. I understand that 7 points is better than 3. That's simple math. My simple Simpson County math can understand that. But sometimes 3 points, you're just trying to outscore the other team, and they don't need that momentum boost because momentum is absolutely a thing. So we'll see exactly how that goes as well. So Mississippi State's offense is dangerous. They're led by standout quarterback in Michael Van Buren, but can the Ole Miss Rebels make him look like a true freshman? Jeff Levy has found success against Pete Golding's defense in 2020, struggled a little bit in 2021 with Matt Corral, but can the Rebels defense rise to the challenge in the Egg Bowl? Stay tuned. You know, Game Time is the place to get your Ole Miss tickets with the killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seats, their lowest price guarantee and such. The Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets. You know, there's views from every seat in the arena. Even if Vaught-Hemingway Stadium doesn't have a bad seat or the Pavilion doesn't have a bad seat, you can see exactly what it looks like before you buy the ticket with Game Time. They have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. Take the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets with Game Time. And with this being the most anticipated season in Ole Miss history, I might even be able to help you out with tickets as well. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And it's time to get Locked On Pickles, everybody. Stewart's Cajun Pickles, that is. They offer a wide variety of Cajun spice products like pickles and green beans, okra, even carrots, and asparagus. This is a family-owned company handmade on the coast of Mississippi. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, they have been pleasing pickle lovers for over 20 years now, and they've become the South's favorite pickle. These truly are the best pickles you'll ever have. They have a strong dill flavor with a Cajun punch, no over sour taste. This being a small business, they strive to keep the produce fresh and local from the start, keeping the final pickle product extra crisp and crunchy. You can find those pickled products online at thepickledstore.com or at your local Rouse's Market, Winn-Dixie's along the Gulf Coast, Corner Market in Hattiesburg as well. They can hook you up. Be sure to like Stewart's Cajun Dill product on Facebook and Instagram. Try these pickles and okra or beans today. You will not be disappointed. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, the South's favorite pickle. This game is going to be interesting, and I mentioned that Jeff Levy had success in the past with Pete Golding. The 2020 crazy, absolutely nuts game. The game where Alabama gained every yard that they could possibly gain in a game except for 7. That one, to where Ole Miss's defense was absolutely at fault. And Ole Miss's offense went blow for blow with an Alabama team that I think ended up winning the national championship with Mac Jones and that group of wide receivers at Alabama. Jeff Levy had a plan that night. I think you had 2 100-yard rushers for Ole Miss. They ran the ball really well. They used the screen game. They used different stuff to attack what Ole Miss did. But the important thing is Jeff Levy has had success against a Pete Golding defense before. The next year, the trip was returned to Tuscaloosa. That was the get your popcorn ready game. That was the Lane Kiffin game of get your popcorn ready, to where Ole Miss drove down the field, struggled to get down the field, was stopped on 4th and 1, and then it just became kind of a whitewashing after that. I think Alabama ended up winning the game 42-21, but it wasn't that close. That game was in Tuscaloosa. This game is going to be in Oxford. So there is some similarities about where the location is being played because it'll be a road game for Jeff Levy. The point is, Jeff Levy has had success against Pete Golding in the past. That's really what that point is. But Pete Golding has gotten better as time has went on against Jeff Levy. So we'll see exactly what it looks like. But Jeff Levy does have a weapon at his disposal in Michael Van Buren. Michael Van Buren's got 123 completions, 224 attempts, 1,606 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He replaced Blake Shapen as the quarterback midway through the season, and he has had some head-turning moments. He's a good player. He is a true freshman, but he is a really good player. And Pete Golding has to account for him. It's not a situation to where Pete Golding can two-man in this offense. Not this week. If that happens, Jeff Levy will pick Ole Miss apart with the quarterback run. That's the way he works. If he sees a lot of two-man and that being played by the Ole Miss defense, they are going to run the quarterback. See what Matt Corral did at Tennessee in 2021. Jeff Levy will do the same thing to Ole Miss in this game. So Ole Miss is going to have to mix up their coverage, both zone and man. They need to try and confuse the young quarterback. And if you can do that and stop State's run game, which they had a little bit of success running the ball against Tennessee, but overall they have not had enough success to be consistently good over the course of the season. I think their wins are against UMass and Eastern Kentucky. I think that's their two wins this season. They lost the game against Toledo. This is a team that can be gotten. It just is. You can get this team. And you have a true freshman at quarterback, and they have a lot of exciting players, and they play really, really fast offensively. And Coleman Hutzler on defense, he struggled as the defensive coordinator in year one. The defense has not been particularly good this season, and they haven't had the offense high-powered enough to take advantage of it. If Ole Miss comes in, focused, plays clean, you should be able to have your way with this defense. You do not want to be in a situation in this game to where midway through the third quarter or into the fourth quarter, this is a tight football game. We have talked all season about how this Ole Miss team, they're front runners. When plan A doesn't work, they don't seem to have a plan B. That's just the way it's looked this season. When plan A's worked, my goodness, it's looked fantastic. When plan A has not worked, they've struggled to adapt moving forward. So pay attention to what's going on. Does Ole Miss's offense handle this Mississippi State defense early? Do they get the early touchdown? Do they jump up on Mississippi State? I think whoever wins the toss in this game is going to take the football. That's just the way this is going to work. And because of that, it is going to be imperative probably that Ole Miss wins the toss, gets the ball, and goes down and scores a touchdown. You do not want to be behind for 1 second in this game. Again, any short thing that Ole Miss has to make the playoff, anything that is relevant to Ole Miss, if any chance that they have, involves a 60 or 70 point victory over Mississippi State. There's no discussion to be had if that doesn't happen. You have to easily dispatch of Mississippi State. And after what happened a week ago in Gainesville, I can understand the pause from Ole Miss fans. I get it. Absolutely. I have pause as well. Whenever you're a 13-point favorite and you go in there and get beat like that, that is problematic. It looked just like the Kentucky game, just like the LSU game, to where mistakes just consistently got made. Absolutely nuts stuff. Yes, the weird thing, this is the most front-running team that I can remember Ole Miss having. This game is on ABC at 2:30 Central Time. The battle for the Golden Egg in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. I'm looking forward to what uniforms they pick out. I'm predicting that they'll be in their classic Navy strip for this game. And I do think that the end zones will be Navy painted as well. So we'll see exactly how it goes. With uniforms, just like everything else, nobody can actually tell. Nobody understands what's going on. Everything's a guess. But if you asked me, that's what I would do, and that's what I think is going to happen. So we'll find out Tuesday or Wednesday how it looks for this Ole Miss football team moving forward as well. Should be pretty interesting for Ole Miss. So in our final segment, we spotlight the Mississippi players who must rise to the occasion for this weekend. For many, it's their last game in red and blue, and for some, it's their final battle against Mississippi State in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. So don't miss this emotional look at what is on the line. So get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. That's America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can get about $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Ole Miss is a 26.5-point favorite over the Mississippi State Bulldogs in the Egg Bowl, and I'm worried about how this team will react after Florida. The FanDuel Sportsbook gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and college all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place those bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So going into our last segment of the game, this game is a big game for Mississippians. It just is. This is something that's talked about inside the state of Mississippi 365 days a year. I've lived it. I've saw what it looked like inside the Manning Center, what this rivalry did. I saw it under David Cutcliffe. I saw it under Ed Orgeron. And because of that, it ratchets up. You may not want it to ratchet up. It may be one of those things where LSU is our rival. But when it comes down to this week, you see things, especially from Mississippians, that make this game a little bit different. Everybody can remember how impassioned Cody Pruitt and C.J. Johnson was about this Ole Miss Mississippi State game. Everybody can remember how David Cutcliffe did the code blue thing for the Mississippi State game when it was just starting out on Thanksgiving. This game is always going to be important for Mississippians. Everybody remember the Hugh Freeze speech before the 2014 game about playing this game out of love for one another because the people from California knows how much it means for the people from Mississippi. Everybody remember that speech? Well, it's true. So this game is going to be very important to watch Mississippians specifically in this football game. This could be a game that Matt Jones goes off at running back, and with the running back position, nobody knows what's going to happen. But it would not surprise me if Matt Jones had a day running the football against Mississippi State. It wouldn't surprise me if Suntarine Perkins, he gets those 2 sacks. He is 2 sacks short of the single season sack record that's held by Sam Williams right now. He has 57 tackles. That's good enough for third on the team. 14 tackles for loss and 10.5 sacks. He has been the most dominant defensive force that Ole Miss has seen this year. And coming into this season, everybody thought it was going to be about 4 different players ahead of Suntarine Perkins. Suntarine has taken over the defensive side of the football for Ole Miss, and he's a Mississippian from Raleigh, Mississippi. This game is going to mean a ton to him. I can imagine in this Mississippi State game, he is going to really play out. Another player that I think Ole Miss fans should watch out for, Xavion Harris, defensive lineman, 24 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback hurries, 1.5 quarterback sacks. He mainly plays as a defensive backup player for the Ole Miss defense. But when he's in there, he plays pretty well. A lot of people joke every now and then he's going to be the starting, he's going to have the J.J. Pegues role, who J.J. Pegues is also another guy, a homegrown player from Mississippi. This is going to mean a ton to him. So we'll see exactly how that goes. J.J. Pegues against Mississippi State in 2022 caught a touchdown pass, by the way, for what it's worth. So Mississippians are going to play a major role in this football game. Even players on special teams, if Cedric Beavers is out there or Raymond Collins, in the secondary, players that are playing on special teams, Mississippians are going to make their mark on this football game. I would not be surprised to see Aiden Williams get snaps in this game and make a play. This is a big step for Ole Miss. And if this game were to get out of control to where Ole Miss can put the backups in to where you're looking at Will Eccles, you're looking at Kamarion Franklin, Jeffrey Rushers, those dudes on the defensive line, it's a different type situation. Nareel White on the offensive side of the ball. I think this is a chance, honestly, in this game, Ole Miss needs, because you're preparing for next season and you know what's coming. You're trying to win this game, but you know what's coming. I think Aiden Williams needs some snaps. I think you need to see what you have a little bit more than you were planning on. I think a larger rotation needs to happen in this football game. Play defense, get the W, all of that. That is the most important part. But it is important to play this game to get ready for the bowl game, because this bowl game is going to look weird. I mean, is everybody going to play in the bowl game, or is Ole Miss going to make what Florida State did a year ago look like what Vanderbilt's going to do this year? I do not know exactly how it's going to look. But this Mississippi State game gives you an idea of what the personnel is going to look like going into that game. That bowl game is going to be a very weird situation against a decent team that's probably kind of excited to be there. So we'll see exactly how it looks. Going into the bowl game and into spring practice, you're propelling yourself for a leadership change on this football team. Jackson Dart's been a super leader. I've talked about his leadership all season long about where he could be. He's stood in front of the microphone. He's had 3 bad series that I can think of that were very costly, but overall he has been very good. But he has been the leader of this team. So Ole Miss is going to have to find a new leadership base for 2025 after Dart and J.J. Pegues and Trey Harris and those guys leave off for greener pastures. It's interesting. All the keys that go on in this game, and I'm going to bring it up one more time. This is the simplest game that Ole Miss is going to play all year. Simple. The keys in this game is absolutely simple. Ole Miss is a 26.5-point favorite for a reason. But Ole Miss has to play better and clean against Mississippi State. You can't have the drops. You have to be as locked in as you can be, because you need the margin of win in case weirdness happens. In case everything happens this week like it did a week ago, you're in position to take advantage of it. It would be a very bad situation if you were unable to take advantage of that chaos because you played with your food against Mississippi State. Ole Miss has to play better and clean in this game. The one player on Mississippi State's team that everybody should fear is the president, Michael Van Buren. You know, we joke about Martin Van Buren and whether or not I know him, but he's been a revelation for Mississippi State this year. So you need to figure out a way to confuse him and slow him down. And also the homegrown Mississippi players, they must really show out in this game where state pride is going to matter very much over that 60 minutes. Those are the keys to the ball game. And if Ole Miss can do that, they're going to win the game. They're going to win it fairly easily. If they allow State to get in it, we talk about that bell curve all the time. There is nobody that is guaranteed a victory in college football. It's all about getting that bell curve down to where them playing at their peak level is above it. And if they can take advantage of it, they can beat you. And Mississippi State can win this game. If Ole Miss plays poorly, like they did against Florida, Mississippi State can scare them. Mississippi State can score the ball. And if Ole Miss's offense is very mediocre like it was against Florida and had the dropsies and all of that, it could be problematic. So we'll see exactly how that goes for the Rebels on Friday. Thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspective, which is why we're the number one Ole Miss podcast out there. Thank you very much. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC podcast. Host Chris Gordy holds no punches, covering the best conference in college football. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to those podcasts. And also exciting news, you can now become a Locked On Ole Miss insider. It is the best and easiest way to stay updated on all things Ole Miss sports. It is our texting program that sends you notifications on anything relevant without the hassle of message boards filled with trolls. Enjoy a 14-day free trial and experience the future of college sports coverage. We're adding new perks as we grow, so do not miss out. The link is down in the description. And for those of you watching on YouTube, like all 20,000 of you did in the Instant Overreaction show this weekend, thank you very much for that. We'll send you to Locked On College Sports right now. Hotty toddy, everyone.